This is sort of more affirmational or attestation than a question. I started listening to your tapes when they were cassettes in 1995, and almost immediately I came up with a word saying, "In my world," using the hand motions, and then probably in 2000 it became Rusty's Tornado, and then when I heard you give the words to Esther of the vortex, I knew exactly what you meant. Because people would say, "Oh, I want to get in Rusty's Tornado because it's a land of rainbows and unicorns on
and power and speed and clarity and focus and fun."
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. And so my husband and I would start doing our creation. We would sit by the pool, a very calming place, much like you've talked about with your pool and the dolphin. And so we follow music a lot, and we have an artist that we really enjoy. And so I said, well, let's go to London and see him. Okay, that's great. Let's get good tickets, okay. And so I started writing to the manager, and in my world, I knew that we would be backstage and hanging out. And so what ended up happening was a contest came about, and my husband called me and said, "You have to enter the contest." And I'm like, "Well, I don't need to. Why would I need to enter the contest? It's done." He goes, "Just enter the contest for fun." So I entered. I won. We're in London, and we're getting ready with his manager to go backstage. And I'm like, "Well, thank you so much for just sneaking my number in there." And he's like, "Oh, no, I didn't do that. It was picked out of a fishbowl by my daughter of 3,000. And so it ended up, I go backstage, I meet the artist, and he's like, "Oh, you're from Tampa." And I'm like, "Yes, I am. And I'm very happy that you're going to start the U.S. part of your tour in Tampa," which they had not even developed a tour at that point. And so he looked at me quizzically, and it went on that we developed this really good friendship. And now he lives in Tampa. We're great friends. Hello, Andy. And we just sort of would sit by the pool, and I'd go, what are you going to say to Andy when you meet him? And so we would come up with the whole conversation and the whole dialogue, and it was all so real, and we had no resistance, and it was so wonderful.
We are appreciating the story, yes. And also, we want to add something to it, something important, and that is when the grid begins to fill in, it might be your partner's idea. You have to enter the contest. Follow those impulses, because in some ways, it was as if you were saying, the universe is going to give me what I want, but I have to take no part in the process. It's just going to appear in some sort of magical way.
Right.
And this demonstrates how those magical ways work, that you get an impulse, you have an idea, you meet someone says something. It's just a continual unfolding path. And we also want to acknowledge that the unfolding path is the fun part. In
Yes.
other words, it's great to get a culmination that you want, and it's wonderful to get to go backstage. And it's even more wonderful to develop a friendship with someone who you have really been admiring.
Right.
In other words, you had more in your vortex than you were even able to allow yourself to expect.
The 15 minutes
this
of...
This is the thing that we so much want all of you to hear. There is more in your vortex than you even will allow yourself to expect. And so the universe is bringing you along, giving you impulses and ideas with precision that is so sophisticated that every consideration is part of it. In other words, an idea that is not so big that it blows you out of the water and makes you not believe, but is big enough that you can accept your part in it. You see what we're getting at?
Absolutely, yes.
This is a very good discussion about following those impulses. You do it all the time, you just don't know you're doing it. And the more you are defining specific things that you want, in fact, it is only when you define, as in this experience, specific things that you want, and then the universe yields them to you, that you are then able to understand these important points: your point of worthiness, your point of readiness, your ability to follow the flow and receive the inspiration as it is coming. In years gone by, we have used this expression quite a bit. People worry that they will get to the dock after their ship has sailed. And we say, but there's another and 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 another. For everything that you want, right here, right now, where you stand, there are 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 viable opportunities to move you specifically in the direction of what you want, surrounding you at all times. And if that's a surprise to you, then that means you're not in the vicinity of what you want often enough to get those impulses. And usually it's because you're hung up on the I'm not getting or I don't have the manifestation that I want, rather than I'm enjoying the journey. It is so fun to watch the clever way that the universe is orchestrating things for me. So fun to watch the way the universe is orchestrating things for me.
I heard recently you use the words milking it, and
yeah,
they had come
precisely.
to me this week, and so it was funny because we did milk it, and I had 5 minutes of material and questions to ask this person when we're finally just sitting in a bar, and 3 hours later we're still talking. So I'm still milking it, and at the end of it he goes, well, how do you have this energy? How do you have this spirit? And I gave him one of your tapes.
The other day, Esther was arriving in Boca for a seminar. And as they were driving in the car, Esther was thinking about Jerry and how many times they'd driven on that road and how much fun it was to move through the orange orchards and sort of reminiscing. And then almost always in the reminiscing of something wonderful, there is the tugging of the absence of it just for a moment. So like our friend earlier, she had the choice of going there or bringing herself back from it. And so, of course, we shouldn't say of course, because she always doesn't do that. But in this case, she brought herself back from it. And now she's talking out loud to Jerry in her mind, just speaking directly to him. And she said, I want to see you and I want to hear you. And this non-physical crap is not what it's cracked up to be. Because it was way more fun when we were romping through the orange orchards together. And she said, I'm all right. I'm not complaining too much. I've accepted it. She said, I've accepted it. I don't like it, but I've accepted it. And then she just sort of settled down and continued to have a good time on the way to the hotel. And when she got to the hotel, she is dragging her bag behind her. She likes to just get hold of it and take it to the room herself. And she's going down the corridor, and as she is approaching her room, she can hear happiness inside the room. Cheerful happiness. And she wondered what was going on in the room. And when she opened the door, there was a big black bird on the balcony. The windows were closed. The glass was closed. But the bird was perched on the back of the chair about this far from the window, looking right in at her. Chirping, 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 talking, saying, can you see me? Can you hear me? 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 And Esther began to laugh. The bird stayed for about 20 minutes and never stopped looking at her and never stopped talking to her, never stopped being visual to her. Later that day, after the seminar, the next day after the seminar, she left the hotel, and a bird that appeared to be very much like that went everywhere she went. It was in the tree at the restaurant. It was back on the balcony later that night. In other words, so what's that about? What it's about is whatever it is that you want, the universe will find the path of least resistance to bring it. Now, there are people who say, well, hold on, because not only is she weird and she something Abraham or something because of it, but now she talks to birds too, and she appears to think that her dead husband is a bird. So I'm not sure how credible anything is here. But we demonstrate it because we want you to understand through the path of least resistance, whatever you're wanting will always be there. In other words, Esther was really specific. I want to see you and I want to hear you. Well, she's not going to hear him in the way she wants to hear him, but she was determined, she was focused, she was actualized in a way that she had not been before. And so the universe says, this is as close to what you want we can come, given what you are thinking and believing right here and now. And Esther said, I'll take that. I'll take that. And
I heard that yesterday.
As you take what you take, in other words, as you trust, as you know these things, you are the center of your universe. And Source is focused upon you. And anything you want is valid and is in the works. And there is no exception. And it is as easy to create a castle as a button. And there is nothing that is off limits for you. If you desire it and you are able to achieve vibrational alignment with the Source within you about it, it must be, you say. Good.
I heard this story yesterday, actually. That was what was playing about Jerry in the corner of your house with the windows with the bird and seeing it. So that was very special.
Well, birds are very wonderful messengers, but this conversation is far beyond birds. It's that there are people, there are experiences, there are all kinds of circumstances and events. The details will unfold to you. The matchmaking, the coordinating, the orchestrating is beyond your ability to understand. Your Earth is spinning in its orbit in perfect proximity to other planets, and you take it for granted. And yet those same universal forces are orchestrating specifically on your individual behalf in ways that are as meaningful and as important as that, you see. So as you begin to accept your worthiness, as you stand in this place of positive expectation, and you begin identifying, and this is the thing that you're bringing to the forum here, and we really want to amplify it. Once you have identified that you want something, only once you have identified that you want something, are you ever going to be able to acknowledge the delivery of it as it comes. And that's the benefit of getting more and more specific about who you are and what you want. Define how you want the universe to deliver the details to you. But if you define how you want the universe to deliver the details to you from your place of yearning for the details that aren't there, then the more specific you become, the more resistant you become. So you have to go general if you are negative and specific if you are feeling good. That really is the rule of thumb. The better you feel, the more you milk it. The worse you feel, the more you go general. You following? Really good.
Thank you so much. I am complete for now.